Supreme Personality of Godhead. In about so many hours, he's going to make his appearance on Ram Nomi. As we spent some time yesterday evening discussing about this evening's topic a little bit, I wanted to begin a little bit differently this evening. Now, if you were to fill in the blank in a multiple choice question or something, who is the best of Lord Rama's servants, you'd probably have a long list. No, but who's the best? No, well, wait a minute. It's like when I was in, where was I? Austin. Yes, Austin. There was a grandmother who is from a Brahmin family, a Yadu or Yadava line, but Brahmin family, and she doesn't speak so much English, but as we were having a discussion on the topic of Ramayana, she kept making some noise because she could see the picture and she knew the story, and so turns out her daughter was there, daughter and grandchild were there, and so I asked the daughter, ask your mother, what's her favorite part of Ramayana, which is like, who's the best of Lord Ram's servants? And her answer, she immediately answered, she said, the entire Ramayana is the best. There isn't a part that's best. The entire Ramayana is best. Because everything in Ramayana brings one to Lord Ramachandra. She apparently, not only Ramayana, but Mahabharata and Srimad Bhagavatam, she has heard since childhood, and her daughter heard, and I'm sure granddaughter. So, the best, it's hard to say. You know, you could say, here's one. According to Vedanta Deshika, some of you may know who Vedanta Deshika is, and in case you don't, Vedanta Deshika is one of the 2 or 3 most renowned commentators on Ramayana. One of his writings is Paduka Sahasram. It's 1,000 verses glorifying the Padukas of Lord Ramachandra. Now, how could you give 1,000 verses on the Padukas of Lord Ramachandra? But he did it. And one of our ISKCON devotees, some of you may know him, Nityananda Pran, it's one of his favorites. He really likes Ramayana, and he loves this Paduka Sahasram. So I got this translation from him. Sri Ramanuja's definition in Vedartha Sangraha is, he or it is a Shesha who, by his or its very nature, exists to promote the glory of another. And the other is Sheshi. So he attributes this quality, outstanding quality of Shesha, or the one who, by their very nature, simply live to glorify Ramachandra, is Lakshmana. So one could say, Lakshmana is the best. How can you get better? In the Srimad Bhagavatam, the following understanding is provided. Padma Purana says, Lord Ramachandra is an incarnation of Narayana, and that the other 3 brothers are incarnations of Shesha, Lakshmana, Chakra, Bharata, and Shankha, or Shatrughna, in the same purport. However, Vishnu Dharmotara indicates that Rama is the incarnation of Vasudeva, Lakshmana of Sankarshana, Bharata as of Pradyumna, and Shatrughna of Aniruddha. So, if this is right, then that's wrong. If that's right, then this one's wrong, one might reason. But Baladev Vidyabhusan saves us from that mistake. That is, idam kalpa beta naiva sambhavyam. In some days of Brahma, is kalpa beta, Lord Ramachandra and his brothers appear as incarnations of Narayan, Shesha, and Chakra, and Shankha. And in other days of Brahma, they appear as incarnations of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. So we touched on this. There are different days of Brahma, and therefore there's different versions of the details of Ramayana, and it's quite okay. It's not just a creative writing spree, but there are different days of Brahma. And so differences from different Ramayanas, we're going to touch on a couple of them this evening. A very consistent description in the commentator, the Sri Vaishnavas, commenting on Valmiki Ramayana, is that Lakshmana is Guru, and just as Guru is to be honored as the Supreme Lord is honored, those who have made the mistake of not properly respecting Lakshmana as much as one respects Ram, they had a problem. Sita had a problem because she disrespected Lakshmana big time. And we spoke about it a little bit yesterday, but the Vidvida, one of the four personalities, Dvita and Minda were brothers, the two of the four personalities who Ramchandra requested to stay behind when he took everybody to the spiritual world. The purpose of his doing that with Dvita was to teach a lesson. The lesson was the consequence of offending one who is very dear to him, and that's Lakshmana. So one can argue. There's others. There's different places in Ramayana, for example. How much affection did Ramachandra, we're going to hear it, no, we heard it yesterday, Ramachandra had for Guha, or so many devotees. Because of their devotion for him. But of course, Hanuman, very, very special. Here's a very nice description of why Hanuman is honored so much. Hanuman is the greatest devotee of Ram. He introduced Ram to Sugriva. He flew to Lanka. He gave Ram's message to Sita. He warned Ravana. He wholeheartedly accepted the defection of Vibhishana into Ram's camp. He brought the medicinal herb that gave life back to Lakshmana. And he prevented Bharata from immolating himself. You all know that one, right? Anybody not know the description of Hanuman preventing Bharata from immolating himself? Anyone doesn't know that detail? Okay, I see a couple of hands. Okay. Ram requested Bharata to rule in Ayodhya until he returned. Bharata made his best effort, superlative best effort. Ram was very firm. Father's order, forest for 14 years. Forest for 14 years it is, because it's father's order. I want you, Bharata, to rule, because citizens, the citizens need a ruler. You go back to Ayodhya and you rule. So he ruled with Ramachandra's padukas seated on the throne. He, Bharata, lived in a secluded place, wearing tree bark just like Ram was doing, eating frugally like Ram was doing, living the life of a person in the forest, ruling Ayodhya for 14 years. And he had told Ramachandra, if you don't return in 14 years, I'm going to enter fire. And he meant it. So the final day, the next day was enter into fire day. That's when Hanuman managed, way ahead of Ramachandra getting his Pushpaka Vimana, he went ahead because Ramchandra wanted to know, maybe he's become attached. And that would be just great. He could rule Ayodhya and he can be the king. So go first and find out what's the scoop. When he got there, Bharata was beside himself with grief because Ram hadn't come back. It wasn't like grief because tomorrow I'm going to enter fire. It's tomorrow because he hasn't come back. What's the use of life without Ram? That was his mood. So Hanuman explained everything and everything and everything. He prevented Bharata from entering into fire. And the very next day, hearing the word from hearing the word from Hanuman that Bharata was not attached, you just knock the projector. So just sit still. He prevented Bharata from immolating himself. Many of you know so much more about Ramayana than I do, but one of the celebrated paintings of Hanuman is the one where he's ripping open his chest and shows Sita and Ram inside. Now, I asked some others, maybe there's somebody in the room that knows more than the others knew, where is this described? This is a so well-known pastime or painting. Where's the Shastra Praman for this one? And I struck out. But the closest one that came reasonably close was Kritivasi Ramayana. And the description in that particular Ramayana is as follows. During the time that Ramchandra was placed on the throne, and it was one of those opportunities for giving gifts to everybody. So one of the gifts was he wanted Sita to give this very special necklace. There's like a long section describing. It was a pearl necklace interspersed with gems. And it was considered to be so valuable, and Sita was looking around at who should receive it, and there was such a valuable necklace, who was going to receive it, who was going to receive it. She looked at Ram. There was no word spoken, but she could understand that he wanted her to decide. And so there's a whole section. When I was in the greatest moment of distress, who came and rescued me? And a whole series of things of how Hanuman is the best. And so she gave the necklace to Hanuman. And the painting is Hanuman's looking at the necklace. And as he's looking at the necklace, he starts eating the necklace. And Lakshmana comments, Sita, why did you give this to a monkey? Because he doesn't have any sense of appreciation of the value of this jeweled, studded necklace. And Ram said, why don't you ask him? And so Lakshmana said, Hanuman, why are you eating that necklace? And he says, it doesn't have the name of Ram on it. So it's worthless. Worldly, but worthless. So Lakshmana said to Hanuman, well, Hanuman, your body doesn't have Ram written all over it. So why do you preserve your body, and why don't you destroy your body? And then Hanuman opened up his chest. It wasn't like Sita and Ram in his chest. It was on every bone of his body is the name of Ram. And everyone was aghast to that display. That's Kritivasi Ramayana. It wasn't exactly seeing Sita and Ram inside his heart, as that painting is often shown. Another greatness of Hanuman, how many of you have seen little temples where Hanuman is painted all red like this? Anyone that's been to India, you see them all over the place. So I asked Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj one time, because we were doing circumambulation, we were doing Govardhan Parikrama, and at the very southern tip of Govardhan Hill is Lota Baba. Some of you have been there or seen pictures. You know who's Lota Baba? It's a devotee, a young cowherd boy who was feeling such separation from Krishna, and Krishna said, don't worry, I'll come back. So he just stayed in the place. Krishna went in the direction. He just stayed there and stayed there and stayed there. He didn't eat anything. The little cowherd boy didn't eat anything. And he just stayed there. And now there's a temple, Lota Baba temple, and he's still looking in the direction from which Krishna went. So when we were visiting there, I asked him, I asked Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj, what do you know about Hanuman being painted red like this? What's the history? And he said one time, this was, I don't know what scripture is from. One time, Hanuman asked, why does Sita wear that red dot on her forehead? And the answer was given, she likes it. And so Hanuman found out where she gets the red kumkum powder, and he took the red kumkum powder and smeared it all over his body because Sita likes it. And when they saw Hanuman like that, they just laughed. He has extreme devotion for the personality of Godhead. She's a dancer, huh? I don't know if I shared this. Did I share this with this deity of Sita and Ram that was brought from Ikshvaku when he descended? This was discussed when? Sunday? Sunday feast lecture. So you know the whole story. Those aren't the deities that came with Ikshvaku, but the deity that's specific to Hanuman, it was the Brahmana who was given the deity, Brahmana, during the time of Ramachandra, and before he left this world, the Brahmana gave the deity to Hanuman. And for a long, long time, how long was it between when Hanuman was present and when Bhima came? Well, it's not just the next yuga. Here's a detail. It's a long time because Ramchandra appeared according to Rupa Goswami's Laghu Bhagavatamrita. 4 yuga cycles previously is when Ramachandra appeared. 4 yuga cycles, during the same Vaivasvata Manu, but 4 yuga cycles prior, yuga cycle number 24, we're in 28. So a long time passed, and Hanuman, gave the deity to Bhima. Bhima and the Pandavas worshipped, etc., etc. So that's just the speciality of Hanuman, because who can be a better recipient of a very ancient deity than Hanuman? And here's a photograph, a recent photograph of that same deity, eventually given to Madhvacharya, installed at the Udupi temple. Sita's quite smaller, but that's okay. Okay, we'll skip this. From the Ananda Ramayana, there's this detailed description of how it was that Hanuman became situated on the flag of Arjuna's chariot. You know the story? Here's the story. It's found many places on the internet, but where the source of it is not so commonly presented. Here's the source is Ananda Ramayana. So there was a period of time, it doesn't say in Ananda Ramayana this is when the 1-year pilgrimage that Arjuna took because there was some discrepancy in what Queen Kunti had said. You know the story of why Arjuna went on pilgrimage. You know the story? You that Arjuna went on pilgrimage for 1 year? He went on pilgrimage for 1 year. And towards the end of that pilgrimage for 1 year is when he visited Dwarka, and when visiting Dwarka, he developed an attraction for the younger sister of Krishna Balaram. And so the marriage of Arjuna to Subhadra took place during that time. But he was traveling all over. So it doesn't say in Ramayana that's when it happened. This is a little background, especially for people that are not familiar with that. When Arjuna had won the hand of Draupadi, they all brothers, 5 brothers, came to the place where Kunti was staying, and through the door they announced, "We have something very wonderful to show you. Arjuna has won a great bounty, great prize." And her reply was, through the door, "Whatever it is, all the brothers should share it equally." And they opened the door, and Kunti had said they're to share Draupadi equally. So how could that be? How can 5 men marry 1 woman? They were puzzled. And so they asked Vyas what to do, because Kunti said this, but whoever heard of 5 men marrying 1 woman? And Vyasadeva said, no, it's the way it should be. And he gave this very detailed explanation of how it was that Draupadi became Draupadi, and there was, in her previous life, there was some desire, and a part of Draupadi, I want a husband, I want a husband, want a husband. Lord Shiva said, you'll have 5 husbands. So Vyas said that Lord Shiva said that she'll have 5 husbands. So be it. She'll have 5 husbands. So with Vyasa's authority, they accepted Vyas as their authority. all 5 of them married the same wife. And Kunti made this statement, Draupadi should be with each husband for 1 month. And the other 4 brothers, you just stay away, so they can be with Draupadi, or whoever that 1 month person is. So one time, it was Yudhisthira who was, in that particular month, was in his room with Draupadi. And there was a problem. There were some robbers, dacoits, plunderers that were causing difficulty. But from my memory, they were plundering the cows. So he went to get his weapons, but unfortunately, or fortunately, circumstantially, the weapons were in the same room where Yudhisthira and Draupadi were. So he barged right into the room, got his weapons, went out and took care of the problem. And when he came back, he put the weapons back, and he said, I violated the word of my mother. I have to purify myself for that violation of the word of my mother. I'm going to go on pilgrimage for a whole year to purify myself, the holy places. And Yudhisthira said, no, it's the line of duty. You did the right thing. It's perfectly okay. But he was very determined, and so for 1 year he went to holy places throughout all of India, ostensibly for purification, for his violation of the word of his mother. That's how strong was the word of Kunti. So whether it was at that time or not, it doesn't say in Ananda Ramayana, but it does say that Arjuna was on his chariot, traveling through forests, land, through all the way down to Dhanushkoti and Rameshwaram. And as he was moving about off his chariot, he saw a monkey. And the monkey was sitting there chanting Ram's name again and again and again. And so Arjuna, this is from Ananda Ramayana, Arjuna asked the monkey, who are you? And he gave a quick explanation. I am Hanuman, the son of Vayu, and the servant of Ram, who helped Ram build the bridge to cross to Lanka, so the entire Vanara army could cross to Lanka, 5-mile long bridge. And Arjuna said, why did he build it with stone? Why did he build it with arrow sticks? That's how it's translated, at least, arrow sticks. And Hanuman said, because the entire Vanara army might break the bridge, because what's arrow sticks going to do? And Arjuna said, I'll show you. I'll make a bridge all the way to Lanka using arrow sticks. And Hanuman said, I'll make you a wager. 1 foot, what to speak of a whole army, can break apart your arrow sticks bridge. And Arjuna said, if that happens, then I'll enter fire. Well, it's like, there's a wager. And Hanuman said, and if it doesn't happen, then I'll situate myself on your chariot flag. That was the wager. Sure enough, Arjuna was able to build a bridge using arrow sticks or arrows. And sure enough, Hanuman with his toe pressed his toe and broke apart the bridge. And Arjuna was very disconsolate, and now I have to enter into fire. So as he was preparing to enter into fire, when Brahmana came along, and the Brahmana said, what are you doing? And he said, Arjuna said, I made a vow that if this bridge doesn't support the weight of the Vanara army, I'll enter into fire. And the Brahmana said, I have a suggestion. Neither of you are Brahmanas. I'm giving you my Brahminical order. Re-wager your bet. So they agreed because he said so. And the bet was, do it again. So Arjuna built the bridge again because that Brahmana happened to be Krishna. Krishna used his disc, Sudarshan Chakra, to support the bridge. So Hanuman was not just with his toe, jumping up and down and jumping up and down and jumping up and down, and the bridge didn't break. And then he put 2 and 2 together and came up with 4. That personality wasn't just a Brahmana, it's the Supreme Lord. Then he came to the Brahman and said, was that you? You're the personality of Godhead? That you came a disguise like this? And the Brahmana smiled and he showed his form of Krishna instead. Hanuman paid his obeisances and was very happy. And so Hanuman was humiliated, according to Ananda Ramayana, because he was boasting about how important and how powerful, etc. he was. And Arjuna, something happened with Arjuna. What happened with Arjuna? Because Arjuna, something happened. Oh, the first time around. The first time around it happened that the arrows didn't support the big toe of Hanuman because, according to Ananda Ramayana, Krishna recognized that in the past, it doesn't detail when, but he likened himself as being as powerful as Krishna, by Krishna's power, empowering him, but he became as powerful as Krishna. And so he didn't support the bridge first time. But because he had taken a vow to enter into fire, he did it the second time. And so Hanuman agreed to become the personality on Arjuna's flag. So this is how do I found out about this because before being here in Houston, I was in Austin, just down the road a little bit. And one of the teenagers asked the question, is it true that Krishna met Hanuman? And I said, where'd you read that? He said, I don't remember where I read it. I said, find me the Shastra Praman. And so the next day he had found the Shastra Praman. It wasn't just Google search. It was Ananda Ramayana. It's a direct passage. So I have the passage. And there's Hanuman on Arjuna's flag. Now, one of the commentators on Mahabharata was Madhvacharya. One of Madhvacharya's greatest writings was a commentary on Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnayas. Because in Mahabharata, there are sections that are telling histories from Ramayana time, because Ramayana time came before Mahabharata time. There's narrations, different persons narrating different passages. So when it comes to the flag of Arjuna bearing Hanuman, Madhvacharya points out that it wasn't to Arjuna that Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita, it was to Hanuman he spoke Bhagavad Gita. A little bit partial, huh? Because Hanuman is the son of Vayu, Bhima is the son of Vayu, and Madhvacharya is a partial incarnation of Vayu. So he likes Hanuman a lot. And Bhima a lot. Then there was another question. And the other question from another teenager in Austin, is it true that that Krishna, no, that Hanuman lifted Govardhan Hill? And I said, find me the Shastra Praman. Because they had read it somewhere, they wanted to know, is it true? So sure enough, they found the Shastra Praman. It's from Brihat Bhagavatamrita. Some of you know what is Brihat Bhagavatamrita, some of you may not. Brihat Bhagavatamrita is a book written by Sanatana Goswami, and in the book by Sanatana Goswami, it has two parts, and in one of the parts, there's Narada Muni making a visit to different personalities in different realms on a quest to find out who is the greatest recipient of the mercy of the Lord. Part one, Narada quest. So one of the persons he goes to see, because he was told by Prahlad that I just remember the Supreme Lord. Hanuman is always serving the Supreme Lord. So in that section, there's the scriptural reference. You can look it up later if you like. Sanatana Goswami not only wrote the book, but he wrote the commentary, a commentary on the book. And this is from his commentary about the greatness of Hanuman in his devotion to Ram. Once Lord Krishna in Dwarka wanted to break the pride of Garuda and others by showing the steadfast exclusiveness of Vaishnava devotion. So he called Garuda to his lotus feet and told him, please hear my command. You should bring Hanuman from Kimpurusha Loka, because that's where he is. So Garuda immediately went, he approached Hanuman and said, the personality of Godhead, King of the Yadavas, is calling you. My dear Hanuman, go to him at once. But Hanuman, exclusively devoted to Sri Raghunath, ignored Garuda's request. Angered, Garuda tried to take Hanuman to Krishna by force, but Hanuman, with the tip of his tail, pushed him effortlessly away. So Garuda went back. He was knocked in the air and he went flying back to Dwarka, came in for a landing in Dwarka, and he told Krishna what happened. Krishna smiled. He said, go back again. Tell him that Lord Ramachandra, Raghunath himself, is calling him. So Garuda followed the order of Krishna and he went back and he told Hanuman that Lord Sri Raghunath is calling you, please come. So while he's gone, Krishna turned himself into Ramachandra. He asked Balaram to become Lakshmana. He asked Satyabhama to become Sita Devi. She couldn't do it, so Rukmini became Sita, and all three of them were waiting for Hanuman in Dwarka. As soon as Hanuman heard Sri Raghunath is calling you, he was filled with ecstasy, ran to meet the Lord, took darshan of the disguised Krishna, Balaram, and Rukmini, and offered prayers and devotion. Very satisfied with Hanuman, the Lord bestowed on him whatever benedictions Hanuman chose. So there's a nice description on the authority of Sanatana Goswami that Hanuman met Krishna in Dwarka in the disguise of Lord Ramachandra, Lakshmana, and Sita. But his devotion is in the spotlight. So here's a reference from Adi Varaha Purana. This is the one I meant to refer to next. This is here's the text. The Ramchandra wanted the bridge to be built. Hanuman was going around, everyone was going around getting stones and boulders and mountains. Hanuman went all the way to today's Uttarakhand. According to Adi Varaha Purana, it was known differently. Uttaran Chal, during that period of time. And that's the place where Hanuman picked up Govardhan Hill. Now, there are different versions of how Govardhan got to be in Braj. This is one of them. Hanuman, all the way from Uttarakhand, where Govardhan was. He was flying in the air with Govardhan. He heard a voice in the air, in the sky. The bridge is complete, no more rocks are required. He happened to be passing over Braj. So he placed Giriraj right where he stands today. And Giriraj was looking forward to being with Ramachandra. So he said, "You've deprived me of the touch of Sri Ram's lotus feet. I will curse you." Adi Varaha Purana. "Please forgive me," Hanuman replied. "In the next Dwapara Yuga, your desire will be fulfilled." So Krishna is going to hold you in the air, and he'll check the anger of Indra, who is trying to destroy Braja with his reins. Krishna will protect you with his hand. He'll fulfill your desire. And it's not over yet. So Hanuman, hearing this, speaking this way to Govardhan, he continued on his way back, spoke to Ramchandra, told him everything that happened, and then Ramchandra replied, Adi Varaha Purana. "All the rocks that have been assembled to build the bridge have been delivered by the touch of my feet, but I shall fulfill the desires of Govardhan by holding my hand and touching him with my whole body. At the close of Dwarka Yuga, I shall take birth in the dynasty of the Yadus and make Govardhan famous as the best servant of Hari by herding the cows with my sakhas on his slopes and enjoying with my beloved gopis in his kunjas." This is long, long ago, Adi Varaha Purana. So the topic, again, is the best of devotees of Lord Ramachandra. One of the signs that Ramachandra recognized him as the best is empowering him, because the function of Guru is to carry the message of the Supreme Lord. So carry the message to Sita. And here's my ring, show Sita in case she thinks that it's a Rakshasa trick. So Ramachandra, is recognizing Hanuman. Again and again and again. Lakshmana is spoken of as also as Guru, so there can be more than one Guru, representative of Ramachandra. The function of Guru is to give the Supreme Lord to others. That's the Guru's function. And the authority to do so comes from the Supreme Lord. So he's giving this authority to Hanuman, as was done with Lakshmana. And receiving the mercy of Lord Ramachandra, he was most happy. Now he had powers. We heard this some time ago in earlier discussions. Each of the Vanaras were offspring of different devas under the order of Lord Vishnu, that they should create offspring that have powers like theirs. But when Hanuman's powers were cursed by the sages that he's making such a disturbance here in our ashram, he'll forget all of his powers until somebody reminds him of his powers. So when Jambavan reminded Hanuman of his powers, he was ready. And as he was not only ready, but his body got bigger and bigger, because they were looking for someone that could make this 800-mile leap to cross the ocean to reach Lanka and deliver the message to Sita that Ram is soon going to come. Don't harm yourself. Take courage. We'll soon be coming ourselves too. So you know this. There's a whole entire kanda dedicated primarily to one person and his service to Ramachandra, Sundara Kanda. It's a really, really, really wonderful section. I didn't know this, but somebody here in Houston told me that Nityananda Pran has been giving a whole series on Sundara Kanda and details and details and details, because it's this glorification of Ram's dearmost devotee, Hanuman. When I get to the next place, tomorrow I'm, after the morning class, getting in an airplane and going to Phoenix for Ram Nomi in Phoenix in the evening. So one of the topics I'll be discussing there is specifically lessons from Ramayana, and one of the lessons from Ramayana is this. It's a whole an hour and a half long discussion on the obstacles that were met by Hanuman when crossing the sea. And there's lots and lots and lots of lessons in all of that. Lots of lessons, life lessons. Although the story is quite simple, fantastic but quite simple, there's lessons in life from the whole of Ramayana, for that matter, and how Hanuman dealt with the obstacles. It's really nice. And everything else that happened. Everything else that happened. Finally, this is a very nice painting. One of the devotees has this on his telephone. And it's connected to, one of the ways it's connected to is from the 19th chapter of Canto 5, where it's describing Kimpurusha Varsha. And Hanuman, along with Rishtasena, they're constantly engaged in singing and hearing and discussing the glories of Ramachandra with complete absorption since forever and until the end of the universe. That's the eternal associate of Ramachandra. One can argue the best of Lord Ramachandra's devotees. One final thing. Consider Rupa Goswami's or our Gaudiya Vaishnav understanding their 9 processes of bhakti. And each of the examples of the 9 processes of bhakti are largely the devotees of Krishna, but other devotees also, like Vamana with the surrendering everything, Atmanivedana. They're very exalted persons, but Hanuman is the only person in Ramachandra's Leela that's pointed to because of his servitorship, Dasya Rasa. So even Rupa Goswami considers him very special, as in that mood of being the servant, the dearmost servant of Lord Ramachandra, although one can make arguments otherwise. Sugriva's way up there. Guha's way up there, etc. So that's our discussion for this evening. We have a new neighbor, just so close to the temple. So I understand there was some yagya a while ago, a few weeks ago or something like that. Yes? Right here in the house? When? Well, on the 5th of this month. Oh, it just happened. As they say at Texas A&M, howdy. Or Hare Krishna, welcome. Okay, let's see if there's some discussion. You have something? Okay. How loud are you? You're not so loud, I can tell. Go ahead. You speak and they'll fix it.
Thank you for the very nice class, Maharaj, on Hanuman, the quintessential devotee of Lord Rama. My question is, of the many devotees of Lord Rama, we see only Hanuman being worshipped. Is there a special reason? Meaning there are temples for...
He's worshipable. They're Ram Bhaktas. And the Ram Bhaktas are many Hanuman Bhaktas. That means, because you worship the devotee as one of the best ways of worshiping the Supreme Lord. Now, that's a philosophical answer, but it's also an emotional answer. And he's such a great personality. They want to worship him. They worship him because they want to worship him. Now, many people worship other personalities and even other things, but he's very worshipable because of his dearness to Lord Ramachandra in so many, many ways. That's why.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. In the pastimes where that you showed when Krishna disguised himself as Lord Rama and called Garuda to bring him, at the end in the slide you show, it is written that Krishna asked Hanuman whatever benedictions he wants. So what does Hanuman ask to Lord Krishna?
I don't understand what you're asking. Do you understand what he's asking?
One of the slides. In one of the slides, you showed that Krishna asked whatever the benedictions that you want.
Yeah, it did say that.
So he's asking what benedictions did Hanuman ask?
Oh, we don't know. Eternal service to your lotus feet. Hare Krishna. He was just enjoying.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I had this question that...
Speak closer to the microphone.
In one of the slides you showed the Sita and Mularam Vigraha.
The children are louder than you.
The Sita and Mularama Vigraha.
Yes.
It passed on from Ikshwaku, Manu and Ikshwaku, you said.
Yes.
Do we know at the present day we still have that?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
In Udupi.
It's in the Udupi temple.
Oh, okay.
Udupi,
that is that.
the deity was... Did you heard this explanation? Shh, 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 shh. You're a noisy one. He likes being front stage too. Okay. Did you remember from yesterday, or should I say the whole thing again? You weren't there? Oh. I don't think he's going to leave you alone. Why don't you go sit back, and I'll just do the whole thing. So, the reference is I think it's again Ananda Ramayana. Let me go back. If reference is found in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that's how I know about it. And the reference goes like this, from Adhyatma Ramayana. So let's look at the top. Adhyatma Ramayana says that when Vivaswan, Vaivasvatamanu, Ikshvaku, Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, right? I want your eye contact here. As much as, the little boy will let you. Krishna said long ago, I gave this imperishable science to the sun god Vivaswan, Vivaswan to his son Manu, Manu to his son Ikshvaku. So disciplic succession. Ikshvaku was sent by his father, Vaivasvatamanu, to the earthly realm. Vaivasvatamanu arranged by Vishvakarma to build the city of Ayodhya, and he wanted his son to rule there. And that was the beginning of the Surya dynasty of kings within this world. Surya dynasty, Ikshvaku. And with him, he gave a deity of Sitaram. Even long before Sitaram came. Long before. And then he worshipped them, and the line of kings following him, they worshipped these deities, including Dasarath. Before Ram was born, he worshipped. And then Dasarath gave them, or they were given next to Ramachandra. So Mula means the original, so the root. During Ramachandra's time, there was a Brahmana that had a vow that until he saw Ramachandra in Ayodhya, he wouldn't eat or take a drop of water for the whole day until he saw him. Then he would break his fast. Sometimes Ramachandra would be gone for days. For days he would fast. Tomorrow we're fasting for one day. He would fast for days. One time Ramachandra was gone. This is from this reference that you see on the screen. Ramachandra was gone for 9 days. When he came back, he heard this Brahmana has eaten or taken a drop of water for 9 days. So he took compassion on him, and he gave him the deities, the Mula Ramayana deities, to the Brahmana. The Brahmana, so he wouldn't have to fast like this. And for his life, he worshipped them. And then he, the Brahmana, gave the deities to Hanuman, who worshipped them for a long time. And that's the rest. So eventually, from the Pandavas to kings in Orissa, the line of the Pandavas to kings of Orissa, doesn't give the detail how that happened, but the particular king, Shyamakanta, an Orissan king, received the deities, and then lineage of Orissan kings. And in that lineage of Orissan kings, there was one king who became a disciple of Madhvacharya. His name was Narahari Tirtha, a celebrated personality. Narahari Tirtha requested Madhvacharya, I'd like to live in your ashram and become a mendicant. He said, no, you stay in the position of being king, and you rule and help influence people to become worshippers of the Supreme Lord. Eventually, just 3 months before Madhvacharya was to leave this world, Narahari Tirtha took the deity from the palace that the lineage of kings had been worshipping, and he gave them as a gift to Madhvacharya, who installed them in Udupi. And today they're worshipped in Udupi. That's the history. But you can look at Chaitanya Charitamrita, you can find it. 3 paragraphs giving this description. Adhyatma Ramayana. Anybody else? Okay. Well, you ready for tomorrow? Big day tomorrow. Of course, the main function for all of you is tomorrow evening, and I won't be with you tomorrow evening. I'll be in another place tomorrow evening. But maybe some of you will come for the morning class, or at least hear it online or something. We're just going to read, my plan is to read from that section of chapter 19 where Hanuman and Arishtasena are offering prayers in glorification of Lord Ramachandra. It'll be a simple class, but glorification of Ramachandra, following Hanuman. Yeah.
Is the fasting till evening tomorrow?
There are different devotees that have different vratas. My training from brahmachari, good old brahmachari days, was there are 4 days of the year, according to, Prabhupada said. I never heard that Prabhupada said it, but it was common. Prabhupada said, 4 days we fast all day. And Ram Navami is one of them. Now, fast all day, it can mean when the sun sets. Or it can mean you fast all day and you don't take prasadam until the next morning. So different ways of doing. But if children or someone needs to take prasadam. But commonly, we fast until the evening or till the next morning. Okay? Srila Prabhupada ki jai.